Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, founder of the TNG Designs Group Limited. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to work out your brand color. Now, obviously there are many ways to do this, but you know what? These are my key fundamentals, and as you know, I like to give everything in chunked up bite sizes so that you guys take it in and be as clear as possible with this information. And as always, don't forget to stay till the end because I've got a cool gift for you to make sure that you tap into and get all the juicy little nuggets that you can do in order to level yourselves up even more so. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be talking about how to work out your brand color. Now, as I said before as well, there are many ways to do this, but here's some really key tips to make sure and understand why these things are actually important. When I say to you, think of a brand that is a beverage and that uses red and white coloring, what automatically comes to your mind? When I say to you, think of a fast food place that uses yellow and red, think of what brand straight away comes to mind as well. So when you're actually out and about and you're looking at a bit of signage that was actually using red and white, you might be thinking on a hot day, I really need a beverage, and what straight away comes into my mind? Coke. Equally, when you're thinking about fast food, when you get triggered by certain sunshine yellows, what comes to mind? McDonald's. These are how key and important colors can actually be in order to be able to trigger certain memories that we have, especially about these brands. So let's get into the idea as to how we can actually create your own colors for your brand. So the first thing that we want to think about is the idea of inspiration. Where do we even find inspiration? Well, I'll tell you this much. There's many of a place to be able to find this inspiration, and would you believe it? It's out the front door. Inspiration is in the nature that we live in. Inspiration is all around us. Inspiration is all that we have in front of us. We have it online by way of Pinterest. Pinterest is an amazing platform, by the way, folks, especially when you're trying to get all those key little elements to be able to understand how can I elevate myself even more. By simply typing in the word red, for example, a whole host of information will come up that would be really, really key and beneficial for you, but equally will be inspiring for you as well. And it actually might open your mind up to certain things that you would never actually thought about. Equally, when you pick the color red, you may start to see other colors that you can then include within your own brand palette. And I'll talk to you a little bit more of that in a minute. So, have a look at Pinterest. Have a look even at photo stock houses, especially online. So where we have Shutterstock, we also have iStock, we also have Pixabay and even Unsplash.com. These are really cool platforms to be able to tap into and to be able to look at photography in general, to be able to get a general idea as to how we can piece colors together. What resonates with your brand? So remember, actually tap back into a couple of my old videos, especially the one about how to boost your brand, because that's where we actually started looking at your values. And actually in a few of my videos, I always tell you guys to make sure that you lead with your values, because these are the places that we're actually going to be needing it. So use your values in order to be able to pick out what colors actually resonate and suit your brand. So for example, imagine one of your values is actually you thinking about the idea of freedom. What color does freedom represent to you? Imagine if one of your words was about health. What color does health represent to you? Now, one tip that I really want to make sure that you guys tap into is to make sure that you do not look to what the meanings of the colors are. We don't want to do that. We do not want to lead with that just yet. Only reason being because it's what your values are that's going to actually start leading the direction as to what your color should actually be for your brand. That's what we want to make sure we lead with, not with the actual meanings that we actually research and find out on places like Google and so forth. Don't do that. Don't lead with what those color meanings are. Lead with what your values mean to you. And equally, what colors actually represent those values as well. So think about that, guys. So the second thing we actually want to look at is the idea of fundamentals. Now, obviously, I quickly spoke about it earlier on in this video, and it's something that I always touch base on because this is what it's about. It's understanding the fundamentals of all of what we do in order to be able to level up and scale up all of the goodness of our businesses, right? So this is what we need to be able to understand. Our colors do not just sit with us. They travel beyond us. They travel beyond the walls of our brand. So we want to make sure that when we're tapping into our web developers, when we're looking at our social media content handlers, when we're actually looking to any external companies or printers or suppliers or anything like that who actually need our colors to be able to work with externally, we want to make sure that we have things like our color breakdowns nice and easy for people to reference so that our brand's colors can actually travel beyond the walls of our brands. So when I'm talking about that, what I mean exactly is start thinking about when you see color breakdowns, especially to do with CMYK or even Pantone references as well. These two in particular are looking at the idea of whenever we're actually facing a printer or looking to a printing supplier. Printing suppliers will always need color breakdowns such as CMYKs when it comes to the imagery, especially because it prints all the more clearer. Also, when you're looking to solid colors, so for example, when we're actually looking to what our brand palettes are looking like, we need to be able to pick out Pantone references to be able to make sure that we nail that color properly so it's at its truest form. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have these color references in place if we can get them. If, for example, you do not have the facilities in order to be able to work out what a Pantone reference even is, literally just sweet talk your suppliers or come to an expert like myself and literally we'll be able to work out what your Pantone referencing is. Of course, we will be able to do that. So these are things that you actually need to be aware of in order to be able to make sure you get that better quality of imagery, better quality of color, even more so when it comes to your brand colors. So that aside, the other type of color referencing that we also need to be mindful of is the RGB color referencing. Now, when we're looking at more so things to do with anything digital, so any imagery that is going to be on a digital platform, so like on your website or again on your social media platforms, this is where we can actually have RGB color referenced imagery because it pertains to the idea of what is seen on a screen. Our screen is typically broken up into red, green, and blue. RGB. Okay? So the other thing that we actually need to be mindful of is the actual hex code of our colors as well, especially when we're looking at the solid colors of our color palettes. So just like you have your Pantone references for your printing aspects, you now have your hex codes for your digital references. Now, just to throw a little extra thing in there, sometimes your print suppliers can actually work off your hex codes, but if you have your Pantone reference or your CMYK color breakdowns set for those particular solid colors, that's what's going to really help to elevate and lift the richness of your colors even more so. So, RGB, hex codes, digital, CMYK, Pantone references, printing. So that's the best way that you can always remember it. Okay, so the third thing that we want to make sure that we are aware of is literally what does the collection look like? And by collection, I'm talking about your color palette. What does a collection of all of your colors look like? Now, typically, a good sweet spot for the amount of colors to actually have, I would say up to 5. I actually only have, I'd say about 4 colors really that I tap into. Black is always a consistent color that I use throughout my brand, so I don't necessarily include it as a brand color, but it is there for my typography, all that kind of stuff. But my main colors are usually warm gray, but then I also have really cool color injections such as yellow, pink, and also a really refreshing peppermint green. So guys, what is it for you? What are your color palettes looking like? I would also say to you, when you're actually constructing your color palette, make sure you go from a dark color all the way through to a light color as well. So going back to what my brand colors are, the warm gray color is the color that I actually use to elevate all these striking colors that come off of it. Only because I want to have a solid grounding, that's what I'm about. But equally, I want these injections of amazing color tones to be able to shine through. The warm yellow literally represents the spirit I feel I have. Equally, so does the refreshing green color, and equally so does the warm pink color. What are those colors for you? Really think about these guys. Think about what your values are again. Go back to the inspiration aspects. What is it when we're looking to our values? What colors actually represent who we are as a brand, who we are as a person, who we are as a business? What are those colors that actually represent what your values are, your brand values even more so? Equally, when we're talking about coming back to this whole color palette collection idea, when you're thinking about your dark to light range, always make sure that you have that energy color injected in there. I kind of hinted at it just a minute ago, but at the same time, I want you guys to also think about what is your energy color, because what we want to try and do with our color palettes is to be able to inject this type of energy that will make sure that anytime we're trying to put out a really important bit of information, it is either used by this color or even elevated or illustrated by this color. Because what that does, it helps to disrupt our audience. And we want to be able to have those little trigger moments in those moments where we're actually trying to put something important out to them so they actually can remember it and reference it anytime when they're looking at a different kind of an object. They're going to look at that trigger a moment. They're going to look at that trigger color and represent it to what your brand is. Equally with the same will go for any of your other colors as well. That's why I always say go up to 5, because you're not going to confuse the situation. When you kind of choose a few extra added elements into there, please be mindful of that, because what we don't want to do is confuse our audiences. And as we know, in general, especially when it comes to business, confused people do not buy. We do not want to do that. We want to make sure that we encourage our audience to actually start being attracted by the colors that we're actually putting out there. And think as again what your business is about. Just because you feel that it might be a serious brand or a serious heavy brand, whatever that may mean to you, doesn't mean that you can then go ahead and pick really dull, muted colors. Put that energy back into it. Think about what your values are. Think about what it is that you want your customer to feel. What it is that you want your audience to feel even more so. What is that feeling? So think about that, guys, and really, really tap into your aspects right there, because there are so many different ways to be able to think about what your colors can actually represent for you. Now, don't forget, they are for you, for your business, not for your competitor's business. And equally, if anybody else has a second opinion on those situations, on those colors, you know what your values are. You know what your brand values are about. Tap into those, resonate with those. Use those to help elevate what your colors should actually be. Don't look to the meanings as to what you may research online or through Google and so forth. Don't look to those meanings at first. Please go ahead and actually use your color referencing to reference your values. Do it that way. Only reason being is that there is a lot of meanings, double standard meanings, in fact, for specific colors. So if we let those double standard meanings actually slow us down a little bit because we get too lost in what those specific meanings are because of what we've researched, then that's going to slow us down. And then we're just going to start choosing colors that don't best represent what we are about. So lead with your brand values. Take direction from your brand values and use those to help elevate what your colors should be for your brand. So there you go. That is it. You get color clarity, you get color fundamentals, you get color reputation, all from the likes of inspiration and where to even find it, all from the likes of understanding what those fundamentals are, and equally how your brand can then travel beyond the walls of your brand. And finally, you also get to understand what the collection of everything actually looks like in order to build on that reputation. There are all these aspects that literally, when clubbed together, form what your brand colors should be. So think about that, guys. Equally, let me know how you get on. Tell me in the comment section below. Let me know what your brand colors are. Even if there are even quirky ways that you actually like to describe your brand colors. For me, I use sunshine yellow, I use warm pink, and I use the fresh peppermint green color. What are your color names? Have fun with it. Equally, even more so, please have fun with it. The journey of a business owner can be quite the long journey. So wherever we can actually grab bits of elements of fun, let's inject it within our business, guys. So yes, so there you go. Equally, as always, here's my gift to you. Please make sure that you go ahead and tap into my guide that will give you the breakdown of the do's and the don'ts and the great, amazing nuggets that you can actually start implementing in your business today to make sure that you elevate yourself up even more so. So, as you know, I'm all about leveling up, and I'm also about making sure that we keep moving in the best possible way as well, for sure, within our brands, for our businesses. So guys, there we have it. The fundamentals, the inspiration, and the ways that we actually can start looking at our colors as a collection as well. So there we have it. That is it, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Equally share this to other people as well so we can keep spreading the good word. So guys, I really hope that it helps you. Don't forget to tap into that guide as well. Comment below, and I will see you on the next video.